Hi friends, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And before we get into today's video, I just wanted to express a heartfelt thank you to every one of you for being here. I spent the morning going through the comments section and catching up on comments that I've missed. I know I've fallen a little behind in the comments, and I apologize for that, because I do try to answer every single comment that I can, and it's very important to me because you take the time to leave them. I feel that I should answer them. But whether you leave comments or I know how busy everyone is, whether you take 5 minutes out of your day just to check out a video, or you follow but you've never left a comment, it's fine. I just appreciate you being here. And the fact that without you, the community that we have here, without you, there is no channel. That reality is never lost on me. So I just want you to know how much I appreciate anything you do, from watching the videos, liking, sharing, commenting, if we've had one-on-one conversations or not, it's fine. And I felt like I needed to say thank you, and I wanted to say thank you. So moving on, I'm going to get into the video today, which are movies that scared me. Now, of course, when we talk about fear, fear is subjective. What scares me may not scare you. And yes, I watch a lot of horror. If you've been following the channel and you're looking at the collection, you know I watch a lot of horror, but most things don't get under my skin, but when they do, it's usually attached to some sort of fear or anxiety, personal fear or anxiety that I have, which would be the same for most people. So are these the scariest movies ever made? No, but these are movies that triggered certain fears or anxieties that I have. So I hope you like the list, and let me know in the comments what movies scared you the most. And you don't have to say why, you can just tell me that they scared you. I'm going to get into it with my first one. Now, I think this one was way ahead of its time. It's from 1998. I don't really hear too many people ever talk about this. Sometimes people will reference it, but it's called Strangeland, and it was done by Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. And this was right at the beginning. It took place, he did it in 1998, so it was right at the beginning when, you know, the internet was all, was coming about, and people were getting involved in, like, chat rooms and meeting people online. And there's a character in this. He plays a character called Captain Howdy, who is an online predator, and he's targeting young people that he meets on the internet. And all of a sudden, these people, you know, these kids are going missing. And as you can see, he's horribly sadistic and does terrible things to them. But there's a lot more to the movie than that. But this really, when I first saw it, it really tapped into that fear, because like I didn't grow up with the internet, and I believe I was in my early 30s before I even had a computer in my house. So it was really the fear of the unknown, and how do we navigate this new space where you can't see the person you're talking to necessarily. We weren't doing Zoom calls then. And you just kind of assume that the person you were talking to was really who and what they said they are. And movies like this come along and you find out there really are bad people out there who took full advantage of the internet. So this one really got under my skin. And like I said, I think it was ahead of its time. I think if something like this was made maybe 10 years further down the line, I think it would have done much better. It's not a great movie, but it's a pretty good movie. It doesn't score great on IMDb. I think it gets like a 5, but if you haven't seen it and you can stream it somewhere like Shudder or maybe free on Prime, definitely check it out if it's something that you're interested in. Like I said, there's much more to the story than what I've told you, obviously, but it's definitely something worth checking out if you want to see like what we thought of the internet in 1998. It's pretty interesting. Now this next one is one that I find it creepy, but it's not terribly scary, but a certain component of it definitely scares the life out of me, and I'll explain why. And it is The Collector. And if you watched my collection videos, you know that I talked about this for a bit. It's basically, I call it a watered down Saw. It's a booby-trapped house. What you have is that there's a family and they're renovating their home, and they have a lot of workers around the house. They have construction teams. They have subcontractors, all kinds of people in and out of the house all day, in and out, in and out. And the people have access to their home. And what happens is one guy decides that, oh, you know, maybe I'll go back and I'll rob them because I know how to get in the house. And it gets much more complicated than that, and I'm not going to get into it, but this played into my fear because I was in real estate for probably the better part of 25, almost 30 years, and my family was in construction. I actually knew people who were robbed by the people who installed their security systems. So when I watched this really hit home for me. And the fact that it may not be, I say, just a robbery, it could be somebody who's totally sadistic, who wants to do terrible things to you or your family. and they have full access to your house. So I have always had this anxiety and fear about work crews around my house. And ask anybody who knows me and I say workers in the house, I'm off the charts with anxiety, and this movie did not help, so it definitely got under my skin. So if you want something different, watch The Collector. The Collector and the Collection is the second one, and that's pretty good too. They're both good. Now this one I think is going to prey on a lot of fears that I think is a very common fear, but this was also very well done, and it's called Buried with Ryan Reynolds. And basically what it is I believe he's a soldier. I think he's a soldier, and he wakes up and he's in a box and he's been buried alive, and he has a telephone and he has like a light or a lighter, and he's able to call for help, and they tell him, you know, we're looking for your location, we're trying to find your location. And let me tell you, for a movie that is literally filmed inside a box, it's fantastic. He does such a great job, and this preys on one of my, you know, it triggers one of my fears of, first of all, I'm claustrophobic to no end. And also, I've always had this strange fear of people thinking that maybe I've passed on and burying me alive. So, and waking up in a coffin or in a box, you know, 6 or 8 feet under the ground. So I was on the edge of my seat. I felt like I had a brick on my chest the entire time. I could feel the anxiety of what someone in this situation must be going through. This took my anxiety off the charts, but it is a really good movie. It's fantastic. Ryan Reynolds is great in it. If you haven't seen Buried, definitely check it out. I mean, look at this picture. It is so good, and everyone I've ever showed this to, they really, really enjoyed it. So Buried is a good one, but if you have claustrophobia, get ready because it's going to freak you out. Now this one, I know this one freaks a lot of people out because a lot of people have talked to it, and there is a scene in particular that we're going to discuss. Not at length, but we'll discuss it. It's The Strangers. We have a couple. If you don't know the story, we have a couple. They go up to a friend's cabin because they want to have a special evening. The guy wants to propose. They're up talking. It's 3 or 4 in the morning. Knock at the door, and these people are on the porch. And they continue to terrorize them throughout the night. It becomes a home invasion situation, and there is a scene in particular in the kitchen. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It makes my skin crawl. And let me tell you, this is a movie that I watched for the first time. I was living alone. I live where I live now. My house is set back. It's very, very dark at night. There's not a lot of street lights. It is pitch black outside my house at night. So this is something that, you know, all these things are things that could really happen. It's not like this far-fetched demonic possession that I know is a real fear for some people, just not mine. But like somebody could knock at your door and they could just want to terrorize you or break into your home. This is not something that couldn't happen. So for months after I saw this movie, every time I heard any bump in the night, I was running around the house, turning on the lights, looking at the windows. I had the baseball bat. This is a scary, freaky movie because it is something that could happen. And there's a line in the movie, and that people ask, they say, why us? And the answer is, because you were home. And it comes right down to that. And this is a terrifying movie. To this day, it still scares me. But The Strangers, if you live alone and you're easily scared, don't watch it. Or maybe do watch it. It's a fun movie, but it's still scary. Now this one, if anyone can explain to me why this scares the life out of me, I'll give you some kind of prize, because I don't know why it scares me so much, but it's called Host. This is the second sight standard edition. I missed out on the box set, but that's fine. There's also a standard Blu-ray edition here in the States, Region A, so you can pick it up easily on Amazon. This was filmed during the height of the pandemic, when everybody was, you know, we were on lockdown, everybody was communicating through computers or whatnot, you know, Zoom calls, Skype calls, whatever you use, things like that. And there's a group of gals who are friends, and what they decided to do is a Zoom call seance. And they're all on their computers, and they brought a medium in, and the medium gives them the rules. And of course, the medium loses her internet connection, so she drops off for a little bit. While she's off, they break some of the rules, and horrible, horrible things start to happen, and you see them on the computers. Now, I don't know what it is, because I am not afraid of seances. I am not afraid of otherworldly things, of spirits and things. That is not one of my fears. I understand people who are afraid of that, and I get it. It's just not a fear of mine. So I don't know why this movie got under my skin so much. It's only 73 minutes. It is just done so well. And every time I watch it, I am completely unnerved by it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the cinematography. I don't know if it's the tension, the anxiety of watching these people go around their apartments and try and figure out what's going on. I don't know what it is, but this scares the life out of me every time. If you have seen Host, let me know in the comments. Does it scare you, or is it just some silly thing that I should just be blowing off? Because I've watched it more than once and I am scared every single time. But Host, it freaks me out. Now Haunt, I can tell you exactly why this one scares me. I've talked about this one a few times on the channel, more than once. Haunt is one that I really, really enjoy. And long and short of it, we have college kids. They're at a party. They get a flyer for these haunts that show up during Halloween time, you know, during the month of October. And they decide to go. And it turns out that the haunt, which is like a walk-through haunted house, is run by these maniacs, just sadistic maniacs, and horrible things happen. Now, the reason this scares me so much is because I have gone to these haunts. And when you go to them, if you've never been, it's like sensory overload. Like they're blasting music or they're blasting sounds. They turn out the lights. They turn on the lights. Maybe you're in the dark and there's wind blowing at you and there's someone around the corner. Like they scare you in every way possible all at the same time. So it's a very anxiety-inducing experience to begin with. Not always the greatest experience, but there's always this assumption, at least with me in the back of my mind, that, you know, they're just trying to scare me, but the people, they wouldn't really hurt you. But then I see this movie and I'm like, but what if it is? What if it's run by maniacs? What if they're sadistic maniacs? We don't know who's running these things. So now I'm terrified of haunts. But that's what really scared me about this one. It wasn't the movie itself. It was the thought that, you know, what if there is some maniac running a haunt just to lure people in to do horrible things to them? So if you want to have a fun time, watch Haunt, but yeah, it might get under your skin. It's a little creepy, but I find the movie itself fun, but it definitely triggered me in ways that I didn't really expect. Now this one I think is going to be an easy one. I think it pretty much is universally considered one of the scariest movies ever made, and that is The Exorcist. This one scared me, but not for the reason that I think it scares a lot of people. This was a very, very good movie, very effective, and what they did with the practical effects was just amazing. I think it's so well done, and it holds up to this day. Basically, you know what the deal is. We have a little girl played by Linda Blair. Her name is Reagan, and she is starting to change. Things are happening. Her mother doesn't understand. You know, is she sick? Does she have a brain tumor? All these different things. They're trying to figure out what's wrong with her before they finally come to the you know, conclusion that she is possessed by this demon. That's scary enough. But what really triggered me with this one was there is a part, I believe it's like the end of the first act, when they're trying to figure out what's wrong with her, and they're doing these different medical tests. And the way they show the medical tests, they're very archaic, they're barbaric. It's very clear that they're hurting her and that she's very uncomfortable, she's scared, it's painful. And that, I have a severe anxiety, medical anxiety, when it comes to doctors and testing and anything like that. I am terrified of doctors. So that right there, the medical part of this absolutely triggered me as soon as I saw that, and it still to this day does. And what that did is it carried me through to the end of the movie. So it started there, and then the anxiety and the tension continued right on through the possession, right to the end. So that was what triggered me with this one. And I'm not going to deny that this is one of the most terrifying movies of all time, and it's brilliant. But that was the part that triggered me the most, even more than the possession, which I know upsets a lot of people. But really, really great movie still. And if you haven't seen the 4K, definitely check it out because it looks amazing. So The Exorcist, it's one that really, really freaked me out. And this one, it's pretty self-explanatory. This is going to be on a list that I'm doing at the end of the week for Japanese and Korean horror. And it's, hopefully I say it right, I always say his name wrong, Takeshi Miike, Audition. And long and short of this one is, I'm going to be brief. We have a widower who his friends, and they believe that he needs to get out there and start dating and meeting women, and he doesn't know how to do it. So they stage this fake audition to get young women in here for him to date. And he picks this gal who seems just fine, and it turns out that she is not. She is very twisted, and she's very unhinged, and this really struck a chord with me because the first time I saw it, I was in the dating realm, and I felt like how easy is it if you don't meet someone through a trusted friend or someone, you know, it's someone that they know and they've known for a while. If you're just meeting someone randomly, how do you know that they're not a complete maniac and you're not going to end up in a bag somewhere chopped up? Like, who knows what's going to happen? So Audition really scared me because it's that fear of the unknown when you're meeting people in unconventional ways. And it just really hit home. And it's a scary movie anyway, but just it kind of got in my head and rolled around. So it really terrified me. Audition. It's a good one, but it's a scary one. And this one is pretty self-explanatory. I've talked about it before, and it's Jaws. My mother didn't want my brother and I to see it because she thought we were way too young. We probably were way too young. It was the summer after 6th grade for me. My grandparents took us to see the movie because I had cool grandparents like that. But I can tell you, after seeing this movie and this shark, the movie itself doesn't scare me. I have never been in the ocean again. I live 3 miles from the beach. I have never been in the ocean since the summer after 6th grade. And the reason is, I think, like I said, the movie itself doesn't scare me. But the cinematography that they did when they show the point of view of the shark is just brilliant and brilliantly effective, because you see the shark coming up and you see the legs dangling in the water, they're hanging off the rafts, they're having a great time, and the next thing you know, this shark attack happens. So every time I would think about going in the ocean or a body of water where like the water was brown, like a lagoon or a lake, I couldn't do it because I would go right back to that cinematography of the legs and the swimmers that had no idea there was a shark swimming around underneath them. And to this day, as much as I love Jaws, and it's one of my top favorite movies of all time, I cannot swim in any kind of body of water unless it's like a pool or something like that. But very, very, very effective, but an awesome, awesome movie. And another one, here's one that this is a weird one for me. This is not, I don't think this is a scary movie at all. I don't even know if it's considered a really good movie. I think a lot of people really didn't care for it. It's called The Rental. And what it is it's two couples and they rent a house, and it's like an Airbnb situation. And they start to think that maybe the person who rented them the house, they meet the landlord of the house and they think he's a little weird, he's a little strange, but they start to feel like maybe he's listening in on them or watching them, or maybe he's hanging around a little too much. And this again, it triggered an anxiety in me because I know, especially because I travel with my dogs now, I will rent places online to take the dogs, like a home, a standalone home where you can go and they accept pets. And I don't know who owns these homes. I've never met any of the people that own the homes. I don't know if they're listening to me. I don't know if they have cameras in the house. I have no idea what's going on. Anything could be going on, and I've always thought that. And then this just solidified that fear. And it's going to take a lot for me to rent a house where it's not owned by someone that I know. So it's going to be a while before I rent a house off the internet. But I don't know, if you've seen The Rental, let me know. Did it freak you out, like when it comes to renting Airbnbs and things like that? And like I said, I don't think this was very well received, but I did keep it for that reason, to show friends, because I thought it was decent. I had a good time with it. It freaked me out, but I had a good time with it. And let's see what, okay, this one totally freaked me out. And it is the 2003 remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I thought this was just a terrifying remake of the original. It is one of the few horror remakes that I feel really, really was very well done, very effective, and scared the life out of me. The first time I saw this, I watched it with a friend, and afterwards, it was later at night, and we had to take her dog out for his walk, and her property was very wooded and very dark in the back. Neither one of us wanted to go outside. We were scared to death to take the dog out for a walk. And to this day, anytime I watch this, I am totally freaked out. I think this is an amazing but a brutal remake. And if you've seen Texas Chainsaw 2003, tell me in the comments what you think of it. But it definitely just plays on that fear that the Texas Chainsaw, like that you have these crazy people living in this house and that anything can happen and that you're not safe. Even if you're with a group of friends, you're not safe. And it definitely played on that fear of coming across people who just want nothing more than to do you harm. So really, really effective. And I am not afraid by the original Texas Chainsaw. I think it's a very important, very influential movie for the horror genre. I think it was great, and I think it's a great movie that started the ball rolling for a lot of different things. But I just think that this remake took the fear level and the brutality to an entirely new level. So if you have a fear of coming across people who just want to do you harm, this is definitely going to get under your skin. So that's it, friends. Those are the movies that really scare me and kind of why. So let me know in the comments what movies scare you. Like I said, you don't have to tell me why if you don't want to, but let me know what really scares you. And I want to thank you all, as always, for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to more videos this week. I put a list up on the community tab so you know what to expect. But if you like this kind of content and collection updates, room tours, things like that, lists, we have plenty of lists coming. Consider subscribing, hit the bell notification so you know when I upload again. But that's going to do it for me today. I'm going to go upstairs and play with Little Pickle. And so for now, that's a wrap.